What's cracking, YouTube? Thanks for stopping through. Links are in the doobly-doo. Like, subscribe, and leave a diatribe. I'm Genius Christ, and this is episode 0 of a brand new series. We're in a weird limbo at the moment, so let's just Philip DeFranco into it. The studio that created Ark Survival Evolved is pulling some shenanigans. Jesse and Jeremy, the two directors, along with 2 wildcard employees and a team of new hires, have been working on Atlas. And we kinda knew that. We saw that leaked video a few months ago, but we all kinda thought it was something much smaller than it is. The new company's name is Grapeshot, and the new title is talking about having 40,000 concurrent players on the map. And full disclosure, I've fallen for this kind of hype before. I was hyped when Eternal Crusade was talking a lot of smack about their Pico server structure. Here, let me pull it up. The Pico server structure was supposed to kind of act like mobile cell phone towers. When you're driving down the street talking on the phone, your phone switches cell towers and you don't even know it happened. And they were going to do that in theory, like a server could just hand off a player to another server the way they were connected mid-battle in a giant, dense battle, and the player wouldn't even notice. And I mean, if that would have worked, you'd have heard about it. This was back in 2015. So, I mean, I gave Eternal Crusade my pre-order money, and I was happy to give it to him. That's high concept, and that's just the kind of stuff I can get into. I told all my buddies, I was like, man, there's this Warhammer 40,000 game coming out, Eternal Crusade, they're going to have 1 million damn players, they're going to be fighting 24 hours a day, it's going to be like PlanetSide, except badass, you know? And then... And yeah, you know what happened. Internal tests failed. Eternal Crusade became something small and not very exciting. The developer was totally cool and gave everybody who wanted one a refund. But I mean, I didn't want the refund. I wanted that big game. Which brings us to the Atlas hype train. Even though I've been burned before, I am still absolutely hyped for this title. Ark Survival Evolved is a fine game, but there are some pretty obvious legacy code problems that won't ever be solved. Beyond that, with server transfers working the way they do, and with the main objective of the game being progression and not tight combat, what had to happen happened. Some stuff never worked. Some stuff never worked as intended. New things would be introduced and make existing things totally useless. Basically, all the things that you would expect from a developer that has really big ideas and no experience at all. But the game is immersive. The environment and the climate effects are second to none in my opinion. Honestly, I put 5,000 or 6,000 hours into Ark Survival Evolved on PS4. That's my conservative estimate. I wouldn't even want to tally the hours I put into EVE Online. Here's my main character, Eats Babies Cienfuegos, in case I need EVE Online street cred. I'm not going to sugarcoat the problems that Ark has, but Ark was the first big title to actually come out of beta like that. I mean, how many games have died without ever getting out of beta in the modern era? Most of them. Almost all of them. I can't think of another major title that actually came out of beta the way Ark did. And that's huge. And because these guys were the ones who were actually able to turn that corner, I have just a touch more faith that they can build this game that we wanted Ark to be. At the end of the day, what Ark did right was to set outlandish goals for itself, and it allowed us, the players, to set outlandish goals for ourselves. They tried to turn EVE Online into a first-person shooter, and I gotta take my hat off to them, because that's what I wanted, and they made something really, really cool and unique. So the Atlas hype train arrived, and it's here, and it was only 6 days long. Who does that? Nobody does that. You don't announce a game 6 days before I can play it. But here we are, in 3 days, on Thursday. Atlas will be available for $30 on Steam, and that's just another bold move, if you ask me. I like these decisions. They're gutsy. Right now, what facts we have are few and far between, and that means we are firmly in the outrageous conjecture portion of the hype train. The map, we know to a certainty, will be the equivalent of 1,200 island maps. That's right, 1,200 island maps that you will sail across the ocean in real time. So expect EVE Online style travel times. If you need to make it across the map, that might be your whole night. To counter player density problems that are inherent to having such a huge amount of people on such a huge map, they intend to restrict new players entering battle zones. So if there's a big fight going on, hot and heavy, the server's struggling to keep up, they just block off that region so reinforcements can't arrive. And I guess I kind of assume they'll do that with storms, right? Because storms and ships don't go together real well. And honestly, that'll be a better solution than the time dilation that EVE Online uses in some ways. When a portion of the Atlas map is too populated and gets restricted, new fights are going to break out wherever reinforcements run into each other from both sides. And the war will be made up of many individual battles. And this is right out of the EVE Online playbook. In EVE, when 2,000 guys drop into a solar system, word travels fast, and everyone tries to collapse on that area. Now, when I say collapse, that sounds fast, but I should clarify that even after you know the fight's going on, it's still going to take you 45 minutes or an hour to travel down there to get into it. So by the time all is said and done, there will be 5 major battles fought over 3 systems with a fight at every gate and an uncountable number of skirmishes taking place during and after the war. I can see that translating very easily into a pirate ship game. Stormy Seas can explain a lot. From an immersion standpoint, I think they're making a good decision on that front. Now, they've been talking about actually having to use the wind to sail. So there's going to be skill involved in reading the wind to travel to your destination. Another perfectly legitimate option to keep people from entering a battle is to make sure that you can't ride the wind to the battle. And that seems like such an easy thing. Like, you're on your way to reinforce your buddies and there's no wind to take you there. Like, you are in the doldrums of Atlas. There's something funny and satisfying about that to me. Atlas says that they have 7 major continents, 700 land masses, on a map that's 45,000 square kilometers. And that's 17,000 square miles if you speak American. Now that's kind of nonsense, right? The Atlas map is reported to be half the size of Indiana. 3 times as big as Connecticut. If you're in Europe, it's over half the size of Ireland. That's crazy, right? We know for sure that there will be places where noobs can learn the game without getting ganked. And those places are being called free ports. And by elimination, we have to assume that everything else will be frontier justice. It's the Wild West. The biggest, baddest crew is going to make the rules, and if you don't follow their rules, you're going to be ready for a fight or you're going to be ready to move. And the talk of being able to own land and disallow other people to build and set laws eventually makes me think that AWOXing is going to be big business in Atlas. They already have a tax system they're talking about. In ARK they called it inciting, but in EVE Online it's named after the guy who did it first, AWOX. He shut down Band of Brothers, changed the face of EVE Online forever. Look it up on YouTube, it's a good story. It won't be long after launch that somebody goes to the forums and tells us a sob story about how somebody stole their whole tribe, everything they worked for, and they burned it all to the ground because they were a secret agent for some other crew. And can the devs help me out? Spoiler alert, they can't. Expect a savage experience in Atlas. EVE on Atlas. And expect a savage 2-year beta. This isn't for the player looking for a stress-free environment. I expect at beta launch for the skill tree to be relatively streamlined, because I expect them to concentrate on combat system and building systems at first. They're already speaking about their long-term goals in the PC Gamer article, which I believe is the only option for a hands-on opinion right now. They spoke a little bit about their future plans. As an example, they intend to have an aging process that is eventually terminal. And what I mean is, you're going to need to breed with an NPC human and make offspring, so that when your character is old and infirm and dies, you'll take over the character of your son and daughter when they come of age. That's some high concept video gaming right there, but it also reminds me a little bit of the EVE Online clone system. In EVE, if you get potted and lose your character, you wake up in a perfect clone, assuming that you've paid your insurance up. You lost some assets and maybe some implants, but all in all, you've got your skills and you can buy a ship and you can continue on your way. This heredity system sounds similar to that a little bit. I have to wonder if eventually your children will be the equivalent of your clone, so that you won't take major risks if you don't have children to carry on your legacy, so to speak. Another good option would be to add a high-risk, high-reward dungeon or treasure map system that you could perhaps take on this adventure, but if you don't make it out, that's it. You're dead. If you don't have kids, you're starting over from a lower level of some kind. In the PC Gamer article, they speak a little of future plans for tarot card-based magic system. I think this would have served ARK Survival Evolved better than their tech system of advancement. Magic and dinosaurs makes more sense than laser rifles and dinosaurs for some strange reason. Maybe I'm splitting hairs. I guess what I'm saying is it would have made more sense to embrace the fantasy side of fiction than the sci-fi side of fiction in this situation. Plasma cannons make total sense in EVE Online. In Ark Survival Evolved, they seem strange and out of place and poorly balanced, with a guy running around in his tighty-whities on the beach trying to make his first spear, you know? So this is where I'm at. My mind is racing, and I am hyped. You have any idea what's going on? You got big plans? Think I'm wrong about this stuff, or some of it, or all of it? Let me know in the comments. I'm gonna have to come back tomorrow for some more hype, and I'll see you then. Just imagine an MMO made by the Ark guys, not a survival game, a for serious MMO. I'll be back tomorrow with whatever I can find. Christmas coming early on Thursday. Well, I guess that's late on Thursday. I think it's like 10 p.m. my time on Thursday. So, you know, sleep in, get ready, pack a lunch. I'll talk to you soon.